everyone, welcome back to the next module of Sale of Goods Act 1930. I am Dr. Vibha Rathod, Department from Humanities, BSSS College, Bhopal, is going to take the second part of the Sale of Goods Act 1930. In previous lecture series, we have learnt about the formation of contract of sale of goods, its essential elements, sale and agreement to sell, and about the classification of goods. Lastly, we have done about stipulation, condition and warranty. Now, in today's lecture, I am going to talk about condition and warranty and all about the unpaid seller and his rights. So guys, let's begin our journey. Sale of Goods Act 1930. Implied conditions. Last series we have done about conditions, so I am going to explain about conditions. There are 6 implied conditions. One is condition as to title, second one is condition as to description, third one is condition as to sample as well as description, fourth one is condition as to merchantability, and sixth one is conditions to wholesomeness. So what is the condition as to title? It is the most important implied condition in contract of sale that seller has the right to sell the goods. What is the condition as to description? Section 15 is talking about the condition as to description. It says that whenever the goods are sold by description, the implied condition is that the goods shall correspond with the description. Third one is condition as to sample. In sale by sample, there is implied condition that the goods shall correspond with the sample in quality and the goods shall be free from the defects which render them unmerchantable. Sale by sample has following 3 conditions. Number 1 is correspondence of sale with sample in quality, that comes under section 17 subsection 2A. Second is reasonable opportunity of comparing goods with sample, section 17 subsection 2B. Third is merchantability of goods, section 17 subsection 2C. Next is condition as to sample as well as description, that is section 15. Sometimes the seller shows sample to the buyer and also gives him description, that is sample as well as description. Next is condition as to merchantability, that comes under section 16 subsection 2. The term merchantability means 2 things. One is if goods are purchased for resale, they should be immediately resaleable, and second one is if goods are purchased for self-use, then they should be reasonably fit for the purpose for which they are generally used. Now what is conditions and warranties? That was the description of conditions. Now what is the difference between conditions and warranties? Condition is a stipulation which is essential to the main purpose of the contract and it is of vital importance. What is warranties? Warranties are subsidiary or collateral to the main purpose of the contract. It is not of vital importance. The main contract can be completed even if warranty is not fulfilled. The very important part of the Sale of Goods Act 1930, that is the doctrine of caveat emptor. The doctrine of caveat emptor is an integral part of the Sale of Goods Act. It translates to let the buyer beware. This means it lays the responsibility of their choice on the buyer themselves. It is specifically defined in section 16 of the Act. There is no implied warranty or condition as to the quality or the fitness for any particular purpose of goods supplied under such a contract of sale. Exceptions to the doctrine of caveat emptor: conditions as to quality or fitness for buyer's purpose. Second one is where the seller makes a false representation or obtains consent of the buyer by fraud. Third one is condition as to merchantability. Fourth one is condition as to wholesomeness. And fifth one is condition implied by the customer or trade usage. Very important topic, that is unpaid seller. Unpaid seller is a very important topic of the Sale of Goods Act. Without studying this, we cannot complete this topic. So, unpaid seller, who is unpaid seller and what rights he have? Unpaid means payment is not made or without payment. In simple words, unpaid seller means a person who has sold the goods for a price has not been paid to him. Sales Act defines unpaid seller is a person to whom the whole price has not been paid or tendered. Instruments has been accepted by him as a condition on which it was received has not been fulfilled by reason of dishonor of the instrument or otherwise. Let's take one example. Party A sells a car on cash basis to party B and the price has not been received yet. What are the rights of unpaid seller? Here I have made a flowchart. You can see it on your screen. It can be divided into two parts. First one is property in the goods has passed. Second one is property of goods not passed. So when I am talking about when property of goods passed to buyer, what points will come under this? Right of lien, right of stoppage in transit, right of resale. So these three are the part of when property of goods passed to buyer. Then second one is when property of goods not passed to buyer. Here we have 2 points for it. One is right of withholding delivery and second one is other rights. What is right of lien? Possession is essential to create right of lien. Lien is of two kinds. One is general lien and second one is particular or specific lien. Seller's lien comes under section 47. According to subsection 1 of section 47 of the Sale of Goods Act 1930, an unpaid seller who is in possession of the goods can retain their possession until payment. This is possible in the following cases. Applicability is important for that. Number one is he sells the goods without any stipulation for credit. Second one, the goods are sold on credit but the credit term has expired. Third one is the buyer becomes insolvent. Subsection 2 specifies that the unpaid seller can exercise his right of lien notwithstanding that he is in possession of the goods acting as an agent or bailee for the buyer. Rights of lien is also telling that lien is the right to keep possession of products and refuse to give purchaser until the fee is paid by the purchaser. So, an unpaid seller in possession of products is entitled to work out his lien on the products within the following instances. What are these instances? In which the goods were sold without any requirement as to credit score, where the goods were sold on credit, however the term of credit has expired, which the buyer will become insolvent even though the period of credit began to expire. So these all are the points which come under rights of lien section 47. Next is rights of stoppage of goods in transit. What is this? The right of stoppage in transit method is the right of stopping the transit of goods even if they may be with a courier for the cause of transmission to the buyer, resuming the ownership to the buyer, customer and retaining possession until they made the payment of the good. Hence, this right is an extension of the right of lien because it entitles the seller to regain ownership even if the seller has parted with the possession of the products. When can this right be exercised? It comes under section 50. An unpaid seller can exercise this right in the simplest way when the purchaser becomes insolvent. Second one, the property has exceeded the buyer. And the third one is the product are within the route of transit. How is the right stoppage exercised? The unpaid seller may additionally exercise his right of stoppage in transit both, though ranking real possession of the goods, by means of giving a declaration to the seller in whose possession the products are. Such words can be given to the person in real ownership of the goods. Within the latter case, the word must accept will in advance to permit the superior to talk together with his agent or servant in time for transport to the customer. If, with the addition of a mistake, he offers the products to the purchaser, he may be responsible for the conversion. The fees of redelivered are to be tolerated by the seller. What is the difference between the right of lien and the right of stoppage in transit? The principal points of difference among these rights of an unpaid seller are as follows. Number 1. The seller's lien attaches when the purchaser is in default, whether or not he is solvent or bankrupt. The right of stoppage in transit arises best while the customer is bankrupt. Second one, lien is to be held only when the goods are in actual possession of the seller at the same time as the right of stoppage is available within the custody of an independent service. Third one, the right of lien comes as soon as the seller has possession over the products to the carrier for the motive of transmission to the purchaser. Next one is right of resale. The right of resale is a completely valuable right given to an unpaid seller. Within the absence of this right, the unpaid seller's other rights in opposition to the goods, specifically lien and stoppage in transit, could no longer have been used due to the fact these rights have only entitled the unpaid dealer to keep the products until paid with the aid of the buyer. Rights of unpaid seller against the buyer personally. What is this? Let's talk about it. These rights of unpaid seller against the buyer are called rights in person. These are as follows. If the property in the goods has passed to the buyer and the buyer wrongfully refuses to pay for the goods, the seller may sue him for the price. Even if the property in the goods has not passed to the buyer, the unpaid seller may sue the buyer for the price if he wrongfully refuses to pay. If the buyer wrongfully refuses to accept and pay for the goods, the seller may sue him for non-acceptance. If the buyer abandons the contract before the date of delivery, the seller may treat the contract as existing and wait till the date of delivery, or he may treat the contract as cancelled and sue the buyer for damages for the breach. Next is, if there is a specific agreement between the seller and the buyer as to interest on the price of the goods from the date on which payment becomes due, the seller may recover interest from the buyer. If there is no such agreement, the seller may charge interest on the price when it becomes due from such day as he may notify to the buyer. So that's all about the unpaid seller and his rights. So now we have completed this module, the Act of Sale of Goods 1930. Thank you very much for patient listening. Have a good day.